Welcome to the Best Music Podcast, where we see behind the curtain and discover hidden habits and success secrets of noteworthy music makers so you, the listener or viewer, can speed up your journey to your dream music goals by taking what you need from the wins, losses, insight, and understanding and lessons learned along the way. I'm your host, Dan Spencer, and this week's featured guest is Sam Smith. Sam Smith is a composer, arranger, and sought-after bassist based in Boston, Massachusetts. He has reached such a high level of skill on the bass, the AuburnPub said, and I quote, "Watching Smith play, the line between bassist and bass blurs. The young bassist looks to always improve himself as an individual musician, as well as with the music that is brought to him by other artists." Smith constantly plays local in the greater Boston area and has brought his expertise around the world to the USA, China, the Netherlands, France, and the UK, playing as a sideman and bandleader for many musical projects. Sam has played at esteemed venues such as Dizzy's Club, Wally's Cafe Jazz Club, and Small's Jazz Club, and has played and or recorded with the likes of Cassandra Wilson, Ron Blake, Stefon Harris, Joe Magnarelli, Jesus Molina, Aaron Parks, and Terri Lyne Carrington. You can find out more at samsmithbass.com. You can also book him to play your event at samsmithbass.com, or to lead your band or to be in your band at samsmithbass.com. Sam, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to come chat with me.
Thank you, Dan.
Sam, you are proving yourself to be an incredibly resourceful business person in addition to an incredible musician. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on the show today. Is I follow you on Instagram, and I've been seeing how you are literally traveling the world, I assume living your best life, just playing music in exotic places.
Yes.
Whenever the mood suits you. And so I'm super stoked for you. And I think for everyone who's watching and listening, I'd love to dive in and sort of dissect and understand what you've been doing to make this happen for yourself. So, Sam, take us back before we talk about anything tactical. Tell us about your why. What drives you to want to share music, and not just share music of your own, but share by playing with other people, share by going around the world?
What drives me? I think it's more of just like getting that feeling of performing. Like we went through a couple years where we couldn't perform, and after that I was kind of just like, I need to make this happen. So was lucky enough to get a couple, like, it's about being in the right place at the right time, along with also just having that drive to get yourself out there. And I think, the 2 years that kind of I wasn't performing much after school, and just really honing in on my craft and my compositions, just really drove me to be like, all right, now is the time to go perform. Yeah.
So would you say that you are chasing the thrill of performance around the world, Sam?
Yeah, and it's also kind of nice to be, I've been lucky enough to where some of these performances around the world, I've gotten it's been all paid for. So it's kind of like also a nice feeling to be like, I'm being taken care of right now to go do what I love to do. Yeah.
That's huge validation. Huge validation.
Yeah.
So when you're going around the world, as we said in your bio, you are playing with other people as a band leader, as a sideman. Tell us a little bit, maybe give your top 1 to 5 tips on being a phenomenal collaborator and networking and being with people, because when you're on the road, you're sometimes traveling with people and you're rehearsing with people, and sometimes you're even hanging out with people, and so you're spending a lot of time with the same people, and so you have to be good at developing relationships. So can you talk about your best practices that you put in place to make all that go smoothly?
I wouldn't say I haven't practiced it anymore. It's more of just like being a person with people, like just going out and maybe not. I guess normally I'm a little shy at first. It's not something that like I'm practicing, but it's like I kind of don't. I try not to be the first one to make a suggestion or so, like within like a rehearsal. If things are going well, I won't say anything. I'll wait for like whoever is the band leader to say something. So then I know. Normally when other people start talking about how we're sounding or how the music's sounding is when that's like a cue to be like, all right, I can say what I think now. So kind of being, I don't know, just being like both a people person and being observant of what's going on in the room. Just, yeah.
Now, this may feel a little obvious to you, Sam, because you're clearly very good at being a people person.
Mm-hmm.
Could you describe what it is like to be a people person?
To be a people person? Well, I've had many teachers from over the years tell me that, like, they give me all this list of how to be in a band, then it's like, it's actually really this, and it's all about the hang. That's how they put it. Just, like, after the gig, just talk about what you've been up to, like, with your band members when you're tearing down. Just, like, or go out, if you're 21, go out for a drink with your band members after, and just, like, it's kind of like when you go, say you're not a professional musician, you go to the office and you sit down and are at a desk all day, but you really want to be talking to Jim over there. But so you guys make plans to go get drinks after. That's kind of like playing bass, and I look over at the guitarist, and I'm like, I haven't seen him in a while. I kind of want to chat with him after, so I might go grab a drink with him after. So kind of treating it like being in the band, that's your workplace, a very sweet workplace, and everyone in that band are your coworkers, where you have to collaborate with and make this higher product for people that people want. Yeah. So just knowing to, just having the desire to connect with people outside of the musical realm definitely helps with this. Yeah.
Connect with people on a human level outside of the music. A huge lesson, and very important too.
Mm-hmm.
Sam, you strike me as someone who shows up to gigs being fully prepared with all the music and all your ducks in a row.
My girlfriend gets mad at me sometimes. She's like, why are you getting there so early? Yeah. No, yeah, it's always great to be prepared. Like, over-prepared is better than under-prepared. That's how I could get into. I don't know if you had a question.
Oh, no, please, go ahead.
Okay.
Sam, tell us what over-preparing is, what it looks like, and please, excruciating detail is appreciated.
Okay. Well, here, I'll start with being underprepared.
Okay.
There was one gig that I had, like, probably when I was 19, and I showed up like 5 minutes before the hit, and everyone was there 2 hours before the hit.
5 minutes before the start is what he's saying for everyone who doesn't speak musician. Okay, sorry,
yes.
Go ahead.
5 minutes before the start, and everyone was there 2 hours before they started. And I showed up, and everyone was very mad. And I was like, where's the music? And they're like, you were supposed to download all that. I was like, oh, okay, this should go well. And it did not go well. I did not play with them again. That was when I was 19, so it's been 6 years since, and now kind of I'm maybe a little OCD about gigs, but It's always a good thing to be a little more over-prepared, where like the night before, or say like this weekend, I have 2 gigs over the weekends that where I won't be home much. You can ask my roommate. He's like, you disappear for the weekend. So I'm going up to Maine on Friday, and then going down to Connecticut on Saturday, where I need to be prepared for these. So already on Monday, I made a playlist of what songs I don't know that are requested, and I've just been that's what I listen to all week. And then the next week, I'll do the same for my gigs coming up then too. I'll just literally won't listen to anything else but these requests that I have to nail. So that's being prepared for the music, but then equipment means the night before I leave for the weekend, I already have, if I need a PA speaker, I already have that out. I already have all the wires, like all the cables.
Duplicates.
Yes, I already have those packed up in my backpack. I have extra cables. I have extra bass strings because for some reason I've broken 6 strings this summer. I need to talk to Daddario. Maybe plug them in here. I have an extra 1/4 inch. I just bring extra stuff and make sure that nothing, if anything goes wrong, there's always something that will go right. Meaning, if a wire doesn't work, then I just change it. So I have all of that already. Then if I need charts for music, I have those kind of in my practice sessions earlier in the week. I make sure those are on my iPad. Actually, even if I don't need the chart, if sometimes there are songs where I know them, but I'll look at them or I'll be practicing them and I'll be like, I might forget this for some reason. So I put a chart on my iPad for that. And maybe I might use it 1 out of 90 times I do that. What else? So that's the music, getting ready for the gig. But then driving, I got to drive to the gig. Sometimes it's with the bands. I'm in a cover band here that travels pretty much around all over. Sometimes with the bands, which is why I'm a little sick right now, because I traveled with the bands and someone was sick in the band.
Oh no!
And just spread it to the band. But that's what happens when you're a band. You're like a family. And then, so I'll literally the day of the gig, I'll have Google Maps open when I wake up. Because living in a major city, whoever lives in a major city, I'm sure traffic could go one way or it could surprise you one day. So where you could leave actually at a normal time, or you have to leave 3 hours because of traffic. So I'm checking traffic constantly. Kind of doing the things that I think that if I were an agent hiring someone for a company, a entertainment company or anything, even in one-off gigs where I'm playing jazz, where there's no agents yet in the kind of jazz that I'm doing, I still think of it that way. Where if I'm an agent, who would I want to be in my agency? Who would I want to be the musician? What musicians would I want to be in the agency? Even though they don't know exactly what I'm doing, but I'll show up to where they're all right, he probably did all this. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
Yeah.
You're trying to be the person everyone would want to hire.
Yes.
In the sense that, so I have a couple tactical questions for you, and we'll go through them from your breakdown, which, by the way, was very helpful, I think, for anyone, and just a phenomenal insight into the mindset of excellence that it takes to build yourself a career in anything, but particularly in being a working musician. You must have a commitment to excellence. You must have a commitment to showing up on time. You must have a commitment to completely owning every aspect of the music before you show up. And if any of that slips, the gigs will disappear. So, Sam, you said that during the week, sometimes you would listen to songs. And by listening to them, learn them. Percentage basis, how much of a song can you learn at this point in your musical journey of becoming a more excellent musician every day? How much of a song can you learn just by listening to it? Like 90%, 95 for an easier song, 100?
Well, like just the bass part.
Yeah.
Normally around, I try to learn other parts than just the bass part, just because the type of band that I'm in right now is where there's no horns or anything. So I try to learn some horn parts too.
Oh, so you can do little fills.
Yeah, because a lot of these, it's cover stuff. So which are more of my gigs on the weekends right now. Some of those bass lines are just like boom, 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 boom. That's it. That's all you have to know. Where I already know, like sometimes from listening to a song, I can be like, all right, I know this song after like 10 seconds. But then to kind of like, so then I don't get bored. Like it's more of that than I'm being paid. Like it's also like I'm being paid to do more than what this is doing. A little bit. That's how I look at it. Where I'll look at, I'll really listen and dial into some of the horn parts or any other synth stuff that's going on. So then I can put in a fill maybe in some of these songs. But sorry, that's out on a tangent. Getting back to like your question, probably can learn. I try to learn like 90% of the song. Where when I'm listening in the week, like when my initial listen is for normally to the first like 30 seconds of the song, and then I'll kind of like move. Spotify is a beautiful thing, or any modern music, where I'll like go to where the bridge normally is on songs, which is about like around 3/4 through, on a lot of pop songs. I'll go and listen to the bridge and the first like 20 to 30 seconds, and that will be my first practice session of all the songs.
And to be clear for people who don't understand why you're doing that, you're doing it like that because you're assuming that by listening to the intro, first verse, perhaps pre-chorus, chorus, perhaps post-chorus, that is then going to be an exact copy-paste in terms of what you're going to have to do up until you get to the bridge.
Yes. That's basically my mindset behind practicing that way, and then that'll be my first practice session where, say, I have like 20 to 30 songs to learn by the weekend. I'm not going to go in and like practice all those like crazy, because that's just gonna, because say each song is 5 minutes, that's 100 minutes right there if I practice all of them thoroughly. So kind of looking at the minute standpoint, and also Mondays and Tuesdays when I'm looking at it are kind of my like relaxed days where I don't want to do as much. So then I'll take it and learn that and play along with just those sections. Then Tuesday normally is my off day from playing, where I'll really listen to them. I'll just have them on in my apartment. Then Wednesday I will actually go in and practice the entire song, to where I'm learning and getting about 90% of the song to memory, 90% of the actual song to memory. And I'll do that Wednesday and Thursday. And then Friday, I'll go to the gig where those, but also, sorry, my gigs aren't just on Friday and Saturday. This is like kind of copy and paste. Like say I have a gig on Wednesday, I'll start doing this on Thursday or Friday. And if that makes sense.
It does 100%. Yep.
Okay. Where, yeah, then the day or two before the gig, I'll just I will do those 100 minutes. That's where I'll do my like the 100. That's where I'll do my 2 hours practicing, or 2 to 3 hours practicing, are on like the 2 days before the weekend gigs, and then if I have extra time, I go in and practice stuff that I might have a gig on Monday or Wednesday too. So jumping in the car, going to the gig, I probably have like 90% of the song learned. And normally it's like an hour to probably like sometimes 3 hours that I'm driving. And I'll just have those songs that I have to know for the day on loop in the car. And if someone's driving with me and knows the song perfectly, they get a little annoyed, but I'm like, this is my process. This is how I'm not going to mess up today. So like in the car ride there is when I like fully commit the songs to memory. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Sam, do you have perfect pitch or just like really honed relative pitch?
I'm not even sure anymore. I think.
Are you starting to memorize pitches?
Yeah, for a while it was like really honed in relative pitch where like I really had the bass tuning notes in my head, but now it's pretty much perfect pitch.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it like, I guess it wouldn't be like, it's not born with perfect pitch, but it's just like practice perfect pitch, I guess.
Yeah. It's like you keep on doing the notes over and over again to the point where you just memorize how a note sounds and you know exactly what it is just by hearing it.
Yes.
So you actually went down a very interesting tangent that I think would be important for us to talk about on a level of principle. So you said sometimes you practice the extra parts so as not to be bored. But I think, Sam, that there might be another reason there, and correct me if I'm wrong, but tell me about how you like to push yourself to become a better musician today than you were yesterday, and how you're going to push yourself to be a better musician tomorrow.
Yes, that is a part of it, definitely. Like I could learn, I'm not going to pull up a bass part that just kind of stays like here, or I could learn a bass part that combines different parts in it that actually technically challenges me a little bit more than what's written in the thing. Like Dua Lipa bass lines, I'll play those. I won't learn any extra things because those are fun bass lines to play. But then like get to some Calvin Harris stuff that's I'll start doing other parts because it's just holding a lot of notes out. So it's, yeah, any like non-technically challenging songs that I have to learn for a gig, I will go the extra mile and learn a different part, especially if like I'm listening to it and I'm like, all right, so we have keys, guitar, drums, and 2 vocalists in the band that I'm playing with, on like the band that I'm playing in tomorrow. That's how the setup is. Say all those parts are already covered and there's like another synth patch in there, or there's another horn part in there, all like, because I know that all the other instruments are covering. I don't know who's gonna cover this, so I'll just learn it just in case no one else learned it. Or if it doesn't hurt, because also if someone else learned it, then you both end up playing it at the same time and you're like, yeah. You both look at each other, it's like, yeah, this, like, we learned that. But it's kind of, you've been there, like just playing the same thing that someone else plays, and then you both are just like, but yeah, so kind of doing stuff that's more technically challenging. I like to learn parts where it'll take me from the bass line down here to like quickly going up here and throwing in like something quick and then going back down. So yeah, I like learning stuff that also brings me to the upper part of the fretboard and then quickly back down. Yeah.
How important do you think it is for yourself? Like, imagine a world where you were only ever playing the ink, so to speak, so the exact bass line of every single song, exactly the way it was, with no alteration, no addition to it, and that was all you were doing every day. Would that make you happy?
No. And I don't think also, I think if every bass player had throughout time had that mindset, there wouldn't be some songs now that there are today. Because by experimenting like that, like say, that's literally what probably happened in the studio so many times. Like someone heard the bass player do something, or even like some other instrument. If there's no creativity on these individual parts, then I don't think some songs get written. Yeah. I mean, I've taken I'm not in the studio doing these yet, where I'm just like at someone's wedding or at a private event, or I'm doing that there, but maybe there's maybe there's a PJ Morton in the audience who hears me do some lick and he's like, oh, I want to write a bass line. I want to write a song to that bass line. That might happen one day.
It likely will. Some of the best music connections I've ever made were at random gigs, and just the right person was in the audience and comes up and talks to you afterwards. Yeah, it's
definitely another thing.
Yeah, it's right place, right time, but I also want to underscore, because you said this earlier, you said right place, right time, but also, Sam, you are the right person, and you are showing up prepared. And, like, that's the key. It's like, to get the 2% luck thing to work, you have to do the 98% of the work for the 2% luck.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you actually do. And there was I think there was a time where I was like, I had like a few teachers tell me that, and there was a time where I'm like, it's just about being like the person on that 2%, but you can't predict the 2%. You can't predict the 2%, and I've been lucky enough to where, like, back at Berkeley, I was starting to do this, and I was even just like in a rehearsal room or in a practice room, and someone came in and listened to me. Then I got a DM on Instagram later being like, I heard you play here. Or that's been happening where I've been on gigs just around Boston since being out of school, where I'll get like a random email from someone that wants me to play on their album because they heard me play somewhere around Boston. So it's being the right person in the right place at the right time, but also mixed with that, it's just getting yourself out there. Like, you can't be the right person in the right place at the right time, meeting the right person, if you're not like going to jam sessions, doing whatever it takes for like you could be doing it online as well, where like I'm throwing in work online, like pretty much every day I'm shooting out a bunch of emails to people, trying to be in the right place at the right time. And then like that's what I'm doing throughout the day, actually, is just like finding places that I want to play and trying to connect with them, trying to get to those places, getting on phone calls with them, selling myself. If you don't know how to sell yourself, that's also not gonna do, like, it's not gonna harm you, but it's also not gonna move you forward as much. Yeah, like I've gotten a pretty good handle on how to sell myself, where I found a good price point for like stuff that I'm booking for myself and my groups. Yeah, I don't know where I lost my train of thought, but
that's huge. That's huge. Mm-hmm. And I think the most important thing we could talk about now is, off of that, Sam, the first time you sent an email to sell yourself, was it a scary experience? Did you feel like you were on a roller coaster? Did you feel a little unsure of yourself?
Yeah, but then I think I did. And the first time I think I sent that email, I called the person like the wrong name and was like, well, there goes that. There goes that gig. But it's all about like practice. It's all about practice and going back and looking at it and being like, all right, screwed up there. How can I move on from that? Like, they're most likely, like, my girlfriend plays a lot of like bar gigs on dueling pianos, and that's like, she works with some characters in there where like some lady like threatened to, I'm not going to go into why, but it wasn't my girlfriend's fault, but some lady threatened to like blacklist her everywhere. And I was like, calm down. They're not going around. They have too much stuff on their hands. They're not going to go around being like, this person did this. Like, for my emails, they're not going to go around being like forwarding it to all these places being like, this person called me the wrong name. Like, they're not going to be doing that unless they hear this podcast and get that idea. But it's going to be, you know what I mean? Like, people have a lot on their plates, and especially like booking agents at these venues around cities. They have a lot on their plates where most of my emails don't even get through to them. It's like, again, being the right place, being the right email at the right time, is key for that. Like, yeah, I might call him Dan when his name is Bob.
Oh, you've been calling me Bob for years, so I guess it all makes sense now. Well, Sam, so I think the important point that I wanted to draw out here is for anyone listening who, regardless of what they're thinking of doing in music, is they feel that feeling in their stomach, like their stomach's bottoming out, like you're about to go down a roller coaster. It's like, just hit send. Even if it's the wrong name, even if it doesn't matter, do it for the first time, because in doing it, it's going to be so much easier the second time. It's like literally anything. Quick tactical question for you, Sam. What lessons have you learned about email subject lines to get people to open them?
I'm still figuring that out.
Okay. Are you running A/B tests? Like, do you have a document of like trial and errors and then open rates and response rates? How are you going about doing this? I have a whole spreadsheet of basically who I've reached out to and who's gotten back to me. And I haven't done that. That's a great idea. Thank you. Yep, you're welcome.
I need to start doing that.
Like that, dude. Like, got some ideas like that.
But no, I've been kind of timing my email, like my follow-ups pretty well, like where I'll send an email on Monday and just be like, hey, this is me. This is my project. Would really love to play at your venue. I don't talk about money at all yet. That's actually pretty key. A lot of my money talks in the emails don't start until like maybe 2 or 3 like emails back and forth. Just so then you're not automatically making it a financial relationship. You're making some sort of like friendship or whatever. It might not be a friendship, but you're making like that human connection. What we were talking about before, which is a lot of things in the music industry go back to the human connection.
Yes. And you're also actually leveraging psychology by creating a buy-in action from the person of responding to you. So I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but sometimes when you go to buy something on the internet, on a site, they'll ask you for your email first in exchange for 10% off or whatever. That's a psychological ploy to get you to take one action. It's a small yes. It's a yes with very low risk. So responding to your email when there's no money involved for someone whose entire world revolves around money is very low risk. Mm-hmm. And so you do that once or twice of low risk actions that actually builds trust.
Yeah.
And then once you've built the trust, then you say, okay, look, we know we're both decent people here. We can talk to each other. We're reasonable. Let's talk about money. That's huge.
Yeah. But like say they don't get back to my initial email. I kind of have, through working as like an independent contractor for some entertainment companies doing this sort of thing, I found that timing your follow-up email on like the Friday after the Monday, at least for me, it's different. It works differently for everyone, but like doing a follow-up email on the Friday before the weekend might gauge their attention, and then like go into midweek the next week for like a third kind of final follow-up and bothering them. Like, don't mean to bother you, but it's like, have you seen my emails? So is that like whole, like, yeah, you just have to, like, those emails might bother you, but people are sending them.
Like you just said, they have so much on their hands and you have to cut through the noise.
Yeah, exactly. So like the squeaky wheel gets the oil.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
Very true. So Sam, in addition to A/B testing your open close rates, so you're going to A/B test one thing at a time, because if you do multiple A/B tests at a time, it actually decreases the clarity of an A/B test. So you could A/B test your headlines for opening. So you're going to test 2 headlines, and you're going to test them until you reach statistical significance. And you can actually find statistical significance calculators online. And this is good for anyone who's getting into gigs. So you start by doing the headline, because your goal of the headline is to get someone to open up an email and to read the body, right? And so your primary goal first is to get someone to open the email. Then what you do is once you get an open rate that you find to be acceptable, whatever that is, and you can continue to improve that, then you save that headline. Then at that point, you could A/B test again against another headline, or, and you could keep on doing that for months or years. And then you can A/B test the actual copy or the interior of the email to get responses or click-through rates to your site for booking. Mm-hmm. And then you A/B test interiors. And then within the interiors, you can A/B test just the first paragraph. So you keep on changing out the paragraph, because you think about it, the headline reads to the first paragraph, which reads to the second paragraph. And every time, because like you say, people are so busy, you're buying 5 more seconds of their attention, just like a song with hooks. Mm-hmm. And then you can A/B test. The strongest thing you can A/B test is the call to action within the copy of the email. So it's like how you ask someone to get back to you is the strongest A/B test you can get, and the highest leverage psychology I have found with A/B tests in terms of getting people to take action is you need to take a leadership positioning and give them 1 or 2 options. So you take all the creative thinking, you do all the creative thinking for the person and offer them distinct options. It's like, would you like to talk today or tomorrow? Would you prefer to communicate over email or text? And what that means is you give them 2 yes choices, and there's no choice. There's only 2 yes choices. So you give people yes choices to get to you. And then if you extrapolate that out, that's a principle. You can then test every single thing in the entirety of your gig business as an A/B test. Even like the first words you say to someone when you see them at a venue, A/B test that. A/B test the card that you handwrite and send to someone who books you guys for a wedding, right? It's like, do you see what I'm saying? And it's like, and then within that card, A/B test how you get them to give referrals for you to go play someone else's wedding.
Yes. I mean, being a musician, you're running a business. That's what it comes down to. And I think that's what a lot of people don't realize getting into the music industry, that you're running a business. Like I found that I booked for a couple bands kind of like remotely, just when I'm not driving, when I'm like in the band with the band, in the van with the band. Wow, that's
making a band in the van with the band.
Yeah,
we're driving across the sand, all over the land. Oh my goodness,
it could be a song. But like I'll be sending out emails on that, and I found that like just having I label myself as an independent booking agent, and it's kind of labeling yourself differently outside of being the musician. Like, well, this one is easy because I'm not the musician that I'm booking for. But then like I'm looking into, I'm kind of dealing with like a move right now, so I'm not doing that yet, but I'm looking into just making moving it to an LLC. Yeah. Like a little bit more like myself as a bass player, moving it to kind of a better business, like an actual business. I haven't done it yet. I'm working on it. Where like in my email outreach, in my signature, I will be putting like my business and stuff like that. Like I won't be saying I'm someone else. No, that might work, but it's kind of like, that's like a moral thing.
Yeah. Yes.
But like in my signature, I will put like business owner or something like that, or like I'll make sure it's known that I know how to run a business and that I understand that their business. I understand what it's like to run a business.
Yes.
Basically, because I think a lot of these people, unfortunately, there's a stigma around musicians that they're always late. They're always blah blah blah. They take long breaks. They just want food. Well, the last one is correct.
Sam, in all fairness, we do want food.
We do only want food.
I mean, like, real talk, we want food.
Yeah. But so there's that stigma where if someone is looking at your email and sees that you're just listing it saying from Sam, have a good day. Where it might be different, where it's like Sam, independent business owner, bass player, entrepreneur, owner of Sam Smith Bass LLC.
Oh my gosh! Defender of the week, knight of the Westlands, and ruler of the supreme ruler of all of Narnia. I mean,
yes.
my goodness, man.
I mean, that could, you know what I'm saying? Like having a good signature saying that you're doing all this, I think could also help in these emails. But I did not think about those sort of A/B tests. Yeah, it's like a focus group within yourself, sort of.
Yeah, and it's every single aspect of your business can have an A/B test. So it's like on your website, like the call to action is like book with us now and test that against start your party, right? In terms of the button, like switch out different language in the button. And like when you think about your website testing, the headline, just like for an email, the headline is the most important thing that gets someone to buy in to look at the next thing. Yeah. So it's like, how are you positioning yourself? And then think about how you're positioning yourself as this booking agent thing, because that is going to be the headline for everything that comes next. So it's like, you can, once you understand the principle of A/B testing within anything, the only limit is your imagination of how many different things you can A/B test to optimize the return of investment of your time. Because you're investing your time to book for other people. Imagine if you could decrease the amount of time it took to book everyone by 50%. Yeah. Which means you could take 50% more people. You would make 50% more money. Yeah. That's true. So, optimization is key. So, Sam, another tactical question. This is bringing us back. We went on quite a journey here. To bring us back to you mentioned you'd like to open Google Maps the first thing in the morning, and I'd love to know if you have a 6-hour drive. How long do you leave yourself? What ratio of time do you like to leave yourself of leeway?
Boston traffic is tricky, so there's no certain ratio for like under 3-hour drives. Okay. Really? But it's more of like, I've lived here long enough where it's a gut decision and it's paid off every time. 3-hour drive, say it's a 3-hour drive where I look at Google Maps and it's saying it's like maybe like 3:15 with traffic. I know Boston and I know it will continue to get worse. So I'll leave myself, normally on shorter drives, I'll leave myself an extra 30 minutes to 45 minutes.
Okay, so I need to reframe the question because you're factoring in getting to the venue early. Yes. Okay, so let me reframe the question in a way that's going to be a little bit more helpful for everyone so they can copy your methodology for success of always being on time. Yes. Okay, so how many hours before the start do you like to arrive? I'm sorry, I think you mentioned it again, but if you wouldn't mind.
Okay, so for stuff I book, it's like at least an hour, at least an hour and a half before the start time. All right. Depending on the event. Depending on the event. If it's a wedding, I want to get there like enough to, because there's different factors when it's a wedding where it's like there might be ceremony going on when you have to set up so you can't sound check, so you have to get there before ceremony. So different factors with that, but say like not playing ceremony or anything, or say I'm playing ceremony and I have to be there for the whole wedding. I like to get there at least an hour and a half before I have to play.
Okay. So you want to get there an hour and a half before you play. Let's say it's a 3-hour drive. Mm-hmm. Let's say you see it's 3:15 with traffic. Mm-hmm. You're only going to leave 30 minutes earlier before to try and make it there to that 90-minute before downbeat.
No, sorry. So it says it takes 3:15 to get there. I'll leave with like an extra 45 minutes. Okay. No, an extra like 30 minutes with that. Just because it's like most of the time. So if you leave early and you end up beating traffic, or there's like, it was some car crash that Google Maps said was happening, but then you get there and it's all gone. So then you're actually getting to the venue 2.5 hours early. That gives you time to just go hang out at a rest stop, get some food. Gives you time to have a flat tire. It gives you extra time that you didn't have to have. And it also, for me at least, it calms me down. Or it gives me extra time to learn a song. Where if I'm leaving, say, I have to be there in 3 hours and 15 minutes, and there's traffic, and it says it will take 3 hours and 15 minutes, I will be rushed. I'll be rushing there. Where that I'm more likely to get a ticket if I'm being rushed and be even later than I'm supposed to be there. Yeah, so kind of, normally my rule is whatever Google Maps say, I add 30 minutes to 45 minutes.
But and then also there's a buffer of 90 minutes on top of that. So you're looking at around between 2 hour 15 minute.
Yes.
2 hour 30 minute buffer for things to go wrong, you to get a flat tire, for an accident to happen while you're on the road.
Yes. I mean, if an accident happens, then I'm probably canceling, but depending on the accident. Oh, if it happens to me.
Not an accident happening to you.
Okay.
An accident
if it happens to me, I'm probably going to call and be like, I got in a car accident. Sorry. Yeah. Or I will call and say, I can't get there. I have a car accident. But like one time it happens where someone was really early and they were like, I was maybe like 5 minutes ahead of them. This is how like getting to the gig as early as possible, like comes into factor. As early as you should be. Where this person was driving probably like 5-10 minutes behind me, and there was a car accident like in that time that shut down the entire highway, where I was on the other end of it and they were stuck, where I ended up having to play the Canon in D melody on my bass. Because it was a violinist and she couldn't get there because there was a car accident ahead. But also, me getting there that early got me to... I've never had to play that before in my life, the melody.
So, what? Okay,
I was able to shed it.
Sam, let's set the scene.
Yeah.
To be clear, you were supposed to be supporting a violinist playing a lyrical version of Pachelbel's Canon in D, a classic tune. Hundreds, thousands, maybe tens of thousands of brides have walked down the aisle to, and you know your bass part because it's the same 4 chord. 3?
Dun, dun.
Well, with inversions, whatever. It's the same chords over and over and over again. And you've never had to play the melody. So the violin player is stuck on the other side of an impassable accident. Yeah. You are the only musician present.
This was like she witnessed an airlift medical thing and everything.
Gosh. Okay. Yeah. So you're at the venue. You are now in the church where the wedding is happening, like the chapel or whatever?
Yeah.
Okay. And were you anticipating playing with the violinist, or were you going to play afterwards originally?
Yeah, I was anticipating playing with the violinist, like just the bass part. And luckily there was a what other musicians? There's I think there was a guitarist also playing. It was like a trio thing. So there's a guitarist, but they really like literally on the planning thing they wanted, like they were like really want like a bowed version of
they
specified that, so the guitarist wasn't gonna do it. So I was like, I got there early. I got there an hour. I ended up getting there before, like about an hour before the ceremony happened. Got all set up, and then I shed that part like no other. And
so hold
played
on.
It for the ceremony.
Did you buy the sheet music off of Music Notes? Were you listening to a YouTube version of it to get it in your brain? Because I mean, we've all heard it a million times, but you might not have had it perfectly at the top of your brain.
Luckily,
what are you doing? Are you like in a broom closet, like between the mops, trying to figure it out? What's happening?
Luckily, this was a gig it was in a barn, and there was like a giant field. And luckily they give us sheet music. So I went out to the field and with the sheet music and played it quick and like practiced it quick. There was like, and I played it up in like thumb position register too. It was just, took me 30 minutes, but then I had it down and I didn't like on the fast part, really fast part.
Yes.
I think I made sure we played it slower than normal because playing that on upright bass was rough. But on the fast part, I kind of just, that's also another lesson where if you have a part, like you can cheat a little bit in some parts. You can, and still know the song. Like say it's a part that's too hard for you, but you still want to learn it. You can take out some notes that might not be as key as others. Like, and it'll still sound amazing. So I did that sometimes in the fast part where I was like, all right, this is a weird shift, so I'm gonna like play this a little differently, so that it didn't like it wasn't necessarily like perfect, but it was performance ready.
Wow.
It was able to get the job done.
So the bride's walking down the aisle. Are you sweating bullets at this point?
Yes, there was no AC in this part.
Okay, so not only were you stressed, maybe sweating, there was no AC, so you were definitely sweating bullets.
Yeah.
This is possibly the crowning moment up to this point of this human being's life. That she's getting married. She might have been planning this for decades.
Yeah.
And Sam, you are the one who's got to play Pachelbel Cannons in D melody that you've never had to play before or never had to think about playing.
Yeah.
Okay, and so you get to the fast part and you kind of jazz through it, and then what happens? Does everything go okay from there?
Luckily, she got up there quick. I will say, luckily, she got up there faster than I thought, so I only had to play like maybe like 3 measures of the fast part, and then I was like, all right, she's up there, and kind of put it down. Yeah.
Luckily, she got up there quick.
Yeah. For her own sake. But, I mean, that's being the right person in the right place. Like, I could have been, if I had a different mind, I could totally see someone just being like, well, it is what it is. We won't play Pachelbel's Cannon, we'll play something else. But I was like, I'm a very, like, it's not, maybe it's a confidence thing, but it's more of like a, let's just see what happens kind of guy. Like, wow. I think that's what, like, it came down to. Like, the guitarist was like, should we play something else? I was like, you know what, I'll learn it and let's see what happens.
Well, Sam, I can confidently say now that in addition to a CEO, chief booking agent, protector of the weak, supreme leader of all of Narnia, we can definitely add one more epithet to your now growing list of qualifications, and that's going to be wedding savior. Sam
Pachelbel Cannon player. Bass.
Top shelf grade A Pachelbel Cannon player Sam Smith is how we will now introduce you moving forward.
That was fun.
Oh. All right.
Well, I mean, there's so many other stories where like all about like leaving on time, like where I left to where I would get there early and someone else decided that they would leave not that early and ended up missing it, to where I had to do like a solo bass performance at a private event and they paid for a jazz trio.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But afterward I got a letter being like they didn't even know that it was just solo bass. So I mean that was a background music sort of thing to where it worked, but say it was someone's wedding and only the bass player showed up and it was the wedding band, like, so that's also Sam, me where
Sam, you've got to tell us the truth. Were you sitting there going pss, 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 while you were also doing your bass? Is that what they did? Is that why they didn't know that it was only a bass?
I took that opportunity because I was in grad school at that time and we had to do a bunch of solo bass stuff. So I took that time to be like, I'm never going to perform these things again, probably, because no one really hires solo bass.
No.
So I just was like, I have an arrangement of like Smells Like Teen Spirit that I made that was, that's, well, kind of based off of Ben Williams' arrangement of that, but I did that, I pulled that out, and then what I had also, I think, a Frankie Valli tune that I made into it. Like, I had some pop stuff that I made into a soul. Luckily, I was taking this class at the time where it was like, had stuff that I made into solo bass where it worked. But, yeah.
So I guess I have two questions. The first is, how many extra times did you repeat each one of these arrangements that evening than intended? Like, if the arrangement was typically a 2-minute arrangement, how long did the arrangement end up being? And then
I made them into like 10-minute arrangements.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
and then my second question is, when you're saying solo bass, could we think of like Joe Pass but bass? So like chord melody type things where it's like we're hearing melody and bass and some dyads and triads along the way?
Yeah, I think listen to like, I don't know, this was a time when I was really listening to like Charlie Hayden and who else was I listening? What's his name? I forget his name right now, but
Charlie
listening
Hayden.
to two basses, like specifically Law Years, where he does a lot of like, maybe he plays the third or fifth, and then he does a lot of root movement underneath. So we'll stay like on a B and go C, B, G, A. And like I was experimenting with that a lot, so it made it sound like chords, but it was really me just kind of like moving the root around in the key with, yeah.
And I heard a rumor you were also beatboxing. Yeah, but
Maybe.
I don't know.
I actually like had I had a mic up and was going like, that would actually be kind of cool if
As an idea for it, they used to not hire solo bassists until Sam Smith came along and changed the game of solo
Beatbox.
bass players irrevocably forever. Sam, on that note, I would like to tell everyone that if you want to, number one, hire Sam or any of his bands to come play with you, check out samsmithbass.com. Links for that are in the show notes if you're on audio. They're going to be in the video description if you're on video. You also see there's going to be a little thing right under Sam if you're watching the video. It says samsmithbass.com.
Or hit me up on Instagram.
Oh, how do we find you on Instagram, Sam?
It's the brand, at Sam Smith Bass on Instagram.
Love it.
And on Venmo.
See? We've got it. At Sam Smith Bass. Sam, thank you so very much for taking this time to come hang with me, to come share some stories from the road, and also the very valuable lessons that you've learned along the way up to this point in your career. And I'm speaking at least for myself, I'm so excited to see where this takes you. And we'll be following your journey very closely and look forward to having you back again when you can talk about what you've learned between now and the next time we see you. So Sam Smith, thank you so very much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Dan.